Okay, so I'm finally doing a video on this. I actually first proposed this idea in February of 2025, but I wanted to test the waters first and iron out some wrinkles. So, you all know about the falling fertility rates. Most countries are falling below replacement levels of 2.1 children per woman and declining into 1 point something, and in some places they've already dropped below 1.0. Now, I can't be 100% sure of what's going on in the other countries, but what I have noticed is this is happening in all of the developed ones. Now, I do agree with some of the theories going around as to why. The big political F-bomb that is feminism being one of them. But I think this is just an exacerbating symptom. It's not the cause. And I think the cause is announcing itself loud and clear. Everyone is talking about it. And it is also women's number one excuse for avoiding relationships and having children. The cost of living. And this ties into why it's happening only in developed nations. Developed nations have extreme abundance brought on by the well-oiled machine that we call capitalism. Everything becomes expensive because we're living in a high state of convenience that is costly to maintain. And it is just costly. It's not a question of unreasonable prices or greedy business practices. Like, think of your air conditioning. 50 plus years ago, that wasn't a common household convenience, but it's now a good portion of a home's cost. Think of the wiring that's required, the structural material for a safe household, your widescreen LCD TVs, your high-speed internet and mobile services, your bathroom, a shower fit for two, your freezer, your fridge, your lights, and how this all makes for a big electricity bill. Food, petrol, all of it. We currently live in significant abundance compared to even just 50 years ago. It's expensive to maintain. And this is without getting into taxes yet, or government mismanagement and the inflation that these things cause. Now, before any socialists or communists get in here and start declaring capitalism has failed, I mean, you already have, but what I mean is I know for a fact that you cannot provide a solution here that doesn't rely on capitalism remaining a well-oiled machine. Okay, you need it. Because capitalism is just how a civilization exists in the first place. And taxing the rich isn't going to save us. Right? What little you can tax from them that won't collapse businesses into bankruptcy or stagnation is not enough to cover our needs. So I've got a different proposal to what most would possibly consider. Where most people might say tax the rich, I say cut the taxes. Or more specifically, give men who become fathers a tax exemption. Now, I know what you're asking. Why give men this thing specifically? Because financial incentives tailored to women have already been tried and they fail. And they fail because they all sound good on paper, like everything beneficial for women sounds good on paper, but it's not actually listening to women's concerns or needs. Okay, like, what do women say they want in a man? I mean, there's lots of things, but one common theme is financial stability. Now, what do women say about kids? They're too expensive. No, and yes, they're more interested in having a career, which is where that big political F-bomb comes in and probably should be diffused. But it does get diffused eventually anyway, because of the good old biological clock kicking in. It just does. I know. Okay, I'm almost a 35-year-old man who's stubborn as hell, and it's even kicking in for me. So back on point. Financial incentives don't work for women because eventually they want more of a work-life balance and a partner who can adequately provide. Then there's the women, even feminist women, who want to be full-time mums. And it's true, despite all the feminism of the past 50 years, men are still the providers in all socioeconomic classes. Even if they're not necessarily as high earning as their wife, they are the full-time worker. And yeah, I know, there are house husbands and full-time dads, but we all know they are uncommon. I'm just speaking to how things are generally now. And if you listen to what women are saying now, the issue seems to be a sense of financial security and a partner who can provide that security. So the sensible thing to do is give a tax exemption to men upon becoming a father, and have this tax exemption remain in place until his children are grown up or of a minimum working age where they can start contributing to the economy and the family's wealth. Or maybe once their child is earning a certain amount, above a threshold. Now, this would actually have to be a tax that is qualified for. As in, the man has to actually be in a relationship providing for a family and hasn't run off somewhere or divorced his wife or girlfriend. I mean, like, you don't want men taking advantage of that system and then living tax-free just because they've got some kids somewhere and leaving the woman as a single mother. So they would have to apply for the tax exemption as a couple to confirm they are in a relationship and to prove he is the father of these children and therefore qualifies. This is the ideal solution to the cost of living pressure everyone is getting. And I know because I did the budgeting. If you didn't get taxed at all, and let's just imagine for a second if you didn't have to pay for a rent or mortgage, everybody could live on about 35 grand a year, give or take, depending on your situation and country of residence. And that pays for everything. Your food, your gas, your electricity, your insurances, your modest luxuries like movies and games. It covers all that. The big thing causing the cost of living pressure is rent and mortgages. They easily add 20 or even 30 grand to your yearly expenses. And then in Australia, the next big expense is fuel. Don't get me started on the damn fuel prices. But anyway, now think what the middle income is. It's what? It's 60 to 90,000 a year these days. So if a man wasn't being taxed and he was earning, say, at least 60 grand a year, maybe a little bit more, he could just afford to pay for himself and a relatively cheap mortgage of 3 or 4 grand a month. Now, if he had a wife who was earning even as little as 40 grand a year, with her ideal work-life balance, she'd be able to pick up the slack on helping the family actually have savings. Especially when you consider they typically have combined costs. Like, under the same roof, only one person needs to be paying for the electricity and gas. Right? And it's only a little bit more expensive for a couple to shop for groceries than a single person, because they buy in bulk. And it doesn't really become double what a single person pays until a kid needs to be looked after. So his money, right, is paying for the big chunk of expenses, and hers picks up where his can't quite reach. But they still have savings at the end of the day. In fact, looking at a rough calculation I did, the couple split their expenses with him covering the mortgage, the electricity, house insurance, and gas, then his own insurances and phone. This saves her money because she's not having to pay for electricity, gas, or the house insurance. Then she could save him some expense by covering the groceries and the petrol, her phone, and the internet. They both still have a little savings under this arrangement. And I'm just describing the lower end of this tax exemption and the regular monthly costs, not the once-off costs like car rego and stuff. And the family profits can really scale up when a guy is earning 70, 80, or 90 grand tax-free with a girl who works part-time. And for women who want to be a stay-at-home mum, you wouldn't need to specifically pin down a man who's earning in the middle of six figures. An income on less than 100 grand actually becomes doable on around 80 or 90 with the men's tax exemption. Your dating pool of eligible men just got bigger. Okay, yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to go for a big house or one in the expensive area of town. And you can't have expensive holidays and gifts or go out too much. And yes, he also has to agree to a mortgage that he'll be paying for like the next 25 to 30 years at least. But it becomes doable. And there's other things the government should do, of course, like to ease the cost of living. But this, I think, at least, is one big beneficial thing they could do. I will say for my American and British friends, though, I'm talking about an Australian economy based on the value of our money and the general cost of living. Just saying if you're baffled by any of my numbers here. So, that's it. You want a solution to the birth rate decline and the cost of living pressures in one fell swoop? Give a tax exemption to men who become fathers. It's an all-round win. All right. Have a good night, everybody. And an auspicious day. I'll see you in the next one.